to a controversy once again bubbling up in the art world. Almost since the time man first started painting on the walls of caves, there's been a fine line between creative expression and appropriation. Art, by its very nature, is meant to evoke feeling, to be provocative, to force us to take a position. But is there a limit? That's one of the questions being raised by Dana Schutz. Her painting, titled Open Casket, it's on the display now at the Whitney Biennial and depicts Emmett Till, the African-American teenager who at the age of 14 was accused of flirting with a white woman. As a result, was abducted, brutally beaten, shot, then left in a river for 3 days. In death, Till became a civil rights icon, largely because his mother demanded a public funeral with an open casket to show the world in a photo in Jet magazine what had been done to her son. But Dana Schutz is a white woman, and many argue her depiction of Till's image is therefore inappropriate and poorly done. Others call it artistic license, but just how far does that license take you? Joining me to discuss are Reverend Irene Monroe, syndicated religion columnist and regular guest on Boston Public Radio. I love that show. 89.7 WGBH Radio. Good to see Irene. And my BPR co-host, Marjorie Egan. Good to see you too, Marjorie. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Irene, some want it removed, some want it burnt, some are blocking people's view, and some say it's Schutz's view, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. Who's right?
Well, it's not about right or wrong, and it's not even about the fact that she's white. What she's doing, though, is aestheticizing black pain and suffering as a piece of abstract art, and that's what's problematic here.
You say it's not because she's white?
It's not, because, you know, because if I would take that premise, we're saying that white people, anybody outside any other, you know, outside of your race or gender can't do that. And I'll give you a classic example that many of us will remember. Norman Rockwell did a piece in 1964 with Ruby Bridges depicting desegregation in New Orleans. Classic piece. And what he did was it allows the viewer to have his or her interpretation. There was enough in the piece with the Ku Klux Klan there and the N-word.
That you're okay with that?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel that more, and to be quite honest, I feel that more whites need to tackle this problem because it's an American problem. It's not just the province of racial groups.
Where are you on this, Marjorie Egan?
Well, since Irene and I had our kerfuffle yesterday on Boston Public Radio, I thought about this a lot more, and I guess where I come down is I don't want to censor art, whether it offends African Americans, whether it offends Catholics, you know, the famous you-know-what Christ thing that people went bananas over.
Blank, Christ,
yeah, or Baptists or anybody else. And I also thought, obviously, you can go much too far. I haven't seen this. I'm not sure that this woman did. But I also think of the things, you know, I think of Strange Fruit, which was written by, the lyrics are a white Jewish guy. And, you know, you could say he was culturally appropriating something he couldn't even begin to understand.
It's a Billie Holiday song for those who were
it's a Billie Holiday song, and but he gave it to her. Or you think of you know, Bob Dylan's Death of Emmett Till. I don't know, is that cultural appropriation?
Yeah, but Irene, even though you're saying that it's not because of the color of Dana Schutz's skin, I've read, and since we did this on the radio, a lot of the criticism from people, including the two artists who are attempting to block people's views. They are deeply concerned that a white person did this. Is there a defense for that? I mean,
I think that the defense would have been this. I think the problem that she lapsed into is when she says, I can empathize with Emmett Till's mother because I am a mother.
Who cares what she says?
Well, no,
it's a piece of art. What do we care what she says out of her mouth?
But because of that, then, she controls this trope. She fits into what we call the trope of the white rescuer. What I want to say is this. What she could have done is just said nothing. Just that would have been better, just to have said nothing, because then we leave it up to interpretation.
So
but she also said it was a vehicle for empathy and connection. And I kind of think...
But how could she connect? Because my problem is this, is that just because she's a white mother, and I'm sure I'm sure with the killing of Trayvon Martin and Tamir Rice and Michael Brown, many white mothers have said, oh my God, they're my children's age. But they don't have this reality. They don't have what's called the talk, having to tell their child, you know, how to survive out in the streets. They don't even have to worry about...
But that's not what she was doing. She was creating a piece of art, and it was abstract. And I get that, because it was saying it wasn't what Emmett Till's mom wanted. She wanted a realistic. That's what she talked about when he died. She wanted people to see exactly what he looked like.
Why can't it be?
There was a commonality. I think there's a commonality among mothers or among fathers
no.
or among...
But wait, can I, just one thing here. If you can't empathize with someone, should you not do the... I just read a couple of minutes ago that in 2013, every single woman nominated for an Oscar, her part was written by a man. My assumption is most men haven't experienced what most women should... Is that inappropriate
No,
in
I'm
10
not.
out of 10
No,
cases?
see, but what I'm getting at is the narrative that she puts with the picture. She's saying...
Because of her spoken word.
Because of her spoken word. So then she's already now controlled this narrative, this discourse here. And she gives it a fixed kind of...
Can you name one other piece of art where you felt one way about the piece and you changed your opinion because of what the artist may have said in an interview?
Well, yeah, I tell you what, though, I look at a lot of work, of religious work, particularly of Jesus on the Christ, on the cross. Mm-hmm. And so the point is that we come with a set of images and ideas. It helps me to look at that piece anew each time because of where I'm at, because there's no fixed narrative to it.
You get the final word.
Well, I think one of the great things about this is look at the conversation we're having. I mean, everybody's in an uproar about this. They're in an uproar saying we shouldn't censor art. They're in an uproar saying it's a cultural appropriation. There's a lot of people, shamefully, who probably aren't even sure who Emmett Till was, and then until they read about this the other day in the New York Times. So I like the bottom line is I don't want to censor art.
Okay, we've done this twice. Where do you want to do it the third time? Irene, it's nice to see you. Marjorie, see you tomorrow at all right?
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, you will.